Today is my birthday, and without sugarcoating it or like dousing it in coffee creamer, I have to admit, I woke up this morning and I looked at myself in the mirror and I asked myself, when do I expire? Do I need Botox? Is beauty escaping me? And what does that say about my ability to do great work or to show up in the world? Beauty standards for women have always been overwhelming, and especially with social media, it feels like they are in our face all the time. And we have to ask ourselves, what is beautiful to me versus what is beautiful to society? But a layer of that I don't think is often discussed or explored is how that plays out in the workplace. How does the way you look impact the way that you work and the way that you're treated in the workplace? If you show up to work with not enough makeup or too much, do you get judged? And does it cause you to do your job differently? And if you are someone that does have acne or a skin condition or something that is apparent on your face, how does that impact the work that you do and the way that you're able to show up in the world? I do not have answers to these questions. So just like I do with skincare, I decided to ask the experts. I went to New York City and I sat down with Moira Forbes. She works with Forbes Women and decided to dig deeper. How and why does beauty still define the working woman? And what can we do about it?
Moira, I would love to ask you a few questions about being a woman in the workforce. As someone yourself who runs a successful company, but also as someone who has interviewed and spoken to and audited hundreds, if not thousands of different businesses. When it comes to success, is that or is that not correlated with the way people present themselves?
I think success is less about how you present yourself in terms of your appearance and your physical, what you're wearing, your makeup, your clothes. And I think it's more about the confidence or the authenticity that you present. So I do fundamentally believe that so much of that is internal. That being said, there is still a very different way in which women are read in terms of their physical appearance in the workplace. Some of that is our own insecurities, and some of that is the social constructs that we live in. I think it's far easier for a man to get up in the morning and go to work. He can wear the same thing for the workday, for the evening, for a business casual event, for a meeting. All these things that go into my head. I have to bring a hairdryer, a straight iron, my makeup, like what bag do I then bring? That's a lot of time and energy that we have to put as women into thinking about our appearances and how we present ourselves. And I think recognizing, well, we still have a long way to go. The way in which all of us read each other impacts and does shape people's perceptions, whether we like it or not. And I think the goal is to continue to shape the social constructs and to move the conversation and the narrative forward around what a successful leader can look like, what a woman in business can look like and where. But we still have a long way to go, and it's still a challenge.
I vividly remember waking up for school every morning and spending so many hours on my appearance, covering my blemishes, working in aesthetics, where the job is literally to help people with skin, yet I felt the need to cover my own face. And even as a model, they would say, come without makeup to a casting or a photo shoot. I would come with a base layer of foundation on because I was so afraid of being judged for my skin. I felt like I was presenting myself to the world in the ways that I could, but it still wasn't good enough. What does this say about our society and about how we feel as women in the workplace? You've probably also heard the stories of women getting fired for not wearing makeup or being told that they wear too much makeup and they try too hard. So it's like, okay, well, what's the answer?
It really is a challenge. And you mentioned how getting ready in the morning can be so easy for some and difficult for others. I remember when I was in high school struggling with my acne, it would take me 2 hours to get ready in the morning. And that was 2 hours that I couldn't study or just sleep in or live my life. And I think that even today in the business world, there is this expectation of women to wear just enough makeup, but not too much. When you see other people in the workplace, do you personally think that people are heavily judged by the way they look? Or do you think that it's the confidence that they exude in relation to that?
I think ultimately at the end of the day, it is so much about how you show up with confidence and comfort in your own skin. And sometimes I think the workplace or society may force us to not feel as comfortable, being our authentic self, wearing what we want to wear, presenting ourselves a certain way. But I do think, it's a cliche, and I have yet to find it, in terms of really showing up in a room with confidence. And so sometimes it's faking it, sometimes it's doing the best you can, and just giving yourself a little bit of grace to know that we're all a work in progress, and we all have our insecurities.
I think there's this fallacy that, the person at the top has it all figured out. You've had an inside look into so many businesses. You've had an inside look as to what makes people successful. Take that woman who doesn't even get ready for her work day. Is she judged differently? Is she seen as tired? Or if she's hit a certain age, has she expired? Has she become worn out? Is that a judgment that people pass? And if the answer is yes, how can we start to challenge that?
I believe that there's still a bias and a different way in which people read women in the workplace and their physical appearance than they read men. I think a woman, if she comes in and, she may look tired or not wearing makeup, or you talk about her hair, that could be read as not having the same commitment, not being polished, not being professional, lazy, whatever it may be. And I think the more you see women with their natural hair, the more you see women with white hair, the more women you see with foreheads that move, right? Whatever decision you make in life, that is yours to make. But I think if we have a wider, band of what it literally looks like to be a leader or an entrepreneur, I think that gives so many of us permission to do what makes us happiest and most comfortable with.
Knowing my personal story, I've also felt judged by my appearance when I went to work. And as an esthetician, one of my specialties has been acne, because I know what that felt like for me, and I'm so passionate about the anatomy and biology of our skin and how ingredients can work to help take care of those who are blemish prone or who are breaking out. And there have been people that say, I'm not gonna let you touch my face. Like, you have acne, you're actively breaking out. Why on earth would I trust you with mine? And in the back of my head, I'm saying to myself, go speak to someone who's never had acne, see how that goes. But knowing what it's been like, I also hope that I can both connect, empathize, and sympathize with those who are still going through it. And at least in my opinion today, that is what has made me a better medical esthetician. That has made me a better person to speak and to help people through their acne journeys.
We have this idea of what a successful leader looks like. What are some of these leaders actually like? Is it possible for us to learn what leadership is? Is it possible for anyone? Or do you have to, have this polished, put together, I don't age sort of look?
What's amazing to me is that so many women I sit down with, even if they're, helming a multi-billion-dollar company, we're still talking about the same things, like, what do you travel with that doesn't wrinkle? Like, what are the shoes that are comfortable with? Like, what are the tricks to get out the door in sort of 5 minutes or so? I think as women get older or face different life stages and their bodies change or their appearances change, that sometimes brings new sets of insecurities. You're like, is this what a woman in business should look like? Is this the way that I should dress? You kind of constantly feel like you're, once you feel like you have it figured out, the rules change again, but that's life. There was a time where it's like, you've got to wear, look really polished and professional, wear like a power suit or gray shift dress. And then it's like, oh God, now you look too old. Like, now that's too corporate. Now you've got to look cool. And these are conversations that women who are literally running the world are having. And so I don't think it changes, but I think at least when we're more transparent and open and honest, you feel less alone. You can learn from their experiences, and hopefully there's a couple of tips and tools that you can learn around the way and pick up. But I do think, that's these vulnerabilities. We're human. We're human.
Moira, if you had one piece of advice for a young woman in the workforce who is struggling with her appearance, or an older woman in the workforce, someone who is struggling with their appearance and has a hard time showing up and doing what they do best every day, what advice would you endow upon them to help them step into their own confidence and their leadership?
I think for anyone who is spending so much time thinking about what they are wearing, what their skin is like, how they are showing up in the world, remembering that you are thinking about it far more than anyone else. You know, I remember when my sister said to me, just remember you're not that special. Meaning you are analyzing and thinking about this, you know, every which way. People are barely giving these things a thought. And think about how much time, energy, and attention you're focused on just how you physically show up in the world. And what a disservice you're doing to your other talents and to your colleagues in the company and your community if you're not able to really develop and nurture and bring those talents and do really extraordinary, amazing things. And it's always easier said than done, right? The things in life that are the most fundamental and that sound the most simple are the hardest things to do. But I think if you really do want to find a journey where you are fulfilled and where you can have impact and you can feel like you're being your best self, give yourself the grace and permission then to be yourself.
And like you said, you step into that area where you are owning what you say, owning how you carry yourself, you have confidence, you have charisma. It doesn't matter, you know, if our hair isn't perfect or if our skin isn't perfect or if we're breaking out. You didn't notice my eczema flare, you didn't notice this patch on my skin. If we show up like we own it and if we talk about those vulnerabilities, we can do a better job at doing the things that we do best.
Remembering that if you think that the most successful women in the world don't have insecurities about their skin, their clothing, their hair, I 100% sort of guarantee that there isn't a woman who's not thinking about how they show up in the world physically, and the most successful ones are the ones who ultimately have the confidence to show up as they want to, not as how they think other people should expect them to.
Well, coffee to that. Coffee and high fives.
Coffee, high fives, and yeah.
We all have our insecurities. Isn't that the truth? And even today, I still struggle to wear my natural hair or to show up certain places without mascara or in an outfit that I feel shows off the wrong parts of my body. But the question is, when are we doing that for ourselves versus when are we doing that for the rest of the world? And when is the rest of the world going to wake up and realize that the clothing we dress ourselves in, the makeup we paint onto our face, or the blemishes, literally and figuratively, that life and biology paints onto us aren't the things that dictate what we can do in this world. They don't dictate how we can do our work, the legacy we leave behind, or the way we help others through the things we do. But I think it's irresponsible to believe that they don't have an impact, because at least in today's day and age, they still matter to an extent. But then the question becomes, how can we recognize that and how can we get over it?
And unfortunately, you know, you can't hit fast forward on experience. And sometimes you have to learn these lessons the hard way. But I think the more that you can learn from the stories of others, the more that you can have these conversations. If you're open and you're curious and you learn, it does make the journey a little easier.
And that learning has nothing to do with how we look.
No. Yeah. Definitely not.
Thank you for sharing all of these insights. To anyone, if you have not checked out the Forbes Women YouTube channel, you absolutely need to, for more inspiring interviews with Moira as well as other different women in business.
I think it's so important to look at the stories of these great women in business and to realize not one of them has done it the same way. They have all had different paths and take pieces of those insights. That's what we do at Forbes all the time, is the insights and the inspiration, and see if hopefully that can help you on your journey.
So, beauty expectations in the workforce, knowing that our skin is natural, but there are still biases and expectations in the industry, what can we do? I think the first thing is being aware of it. We can call it out when it happens, and we can try to correct it. Acknowledging it is the very first part. And then secondly, we can start with the way we talk to ourselves and others. Instead of complimenting others on the way they look, oh my God, your skin looks so fresh. It's your birthday? You look so young. That dress fits your body so well. Instead of complimenting people on what they look like, let's compliment them on what they do. You are so talented with the way that you apply your winged liner. You're like an artist. Wow, the way you gave that speech was so moving and empowering to me. Thank you for sharing your story. As I analyze my own speech and my own language, I realize I compliment so many people on the way that they do look. And while that's still nice, let's switch that focus onto complimenting people for both who they are and the things that they do. What we double tap is literally us voting for what we want to see in this world. So that power is in our hands. Do we want to like the overly face-tuned, photoshopped Instagrammer? Sure, she's gorgeous, but can we also give some likes to the acne positivity blogger, the person who is showing their unfiltered skin, the person who changed their LinkedIn profile to be their natural hair, to embrace their bipolar disorder, to embrace the things about them that are deeper than what meets the eye? I'm hoping that the answer will be yes. And if I have one birthday wish, it is that you look at yourself not for what you see in the mirror, but for who you truly are on the inside. And you take inventory of the special things that you do for this world and for the people around you. And notice, that has nothing to do with what you look like. If you'd like to watch the entire Forbes Women video, we go into some very personal things. I share a little bit behind the scenes of being an influencer, what it's like to be taken advantage of by management, because just the way a caterpillar cocoons itself up, does some self-reflection, and emerges as a butterfly, you and I are always the same person, the same essence on the inside. But the way we present ourselves, the way we grow into ourselves, that can change. And that is why I always say, be beautiful, both inside and out. I love you, I'm inspired by you, and I cannot wait to see you in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.